Astronomers have just recorded a series of new images of the interstellar object 3I Atlas taken on November 16 from New Mexico by observer Satoru Morata. These photos, taken about 12, 14, and 16 hours ago, are currently considered the highest quality images ever obtained by 3I Atlas, allowing clear observation of many features commonly found in comets. Still, 3I Atlas is considered a special case among comets. Unlike regular comets originating from the Oort cloud, a hypothetical reservoir of icy bodies at the edge of the solar system, 3I Atlas has been behaving in a way that is difficult to explain. Oort cloud comets are often pulled into the solar system by the impact of galactic tides, the passing of a brown dwarf, or even an unconfirmed planet. These are the familiar comets that astronomers often track. There are also comets in the solar system that exist within the orbits of planets. One example is Chiron, which has a nucleus of about 220 kilometers, although it does not come very close to the Sun. Chiron occasionally develops an enlarged cometary head, but this is considered an unusual phenomenon. In the new images of 3I Atlas, observers noted a large tail along with many smaller tails or jets radiating out from it. Notably, one jet is also pointing back toward the Sun, a rare feature that continues to make 3I Atlas a topic of interest in the astronomical community. The problem with 3I Atlas is that it exhibits some rather unusual characteristics. A few comets have been recorded exhibiting similar phenomena, but the number is very small. You can count them on the fingers of one hand. Although not directly experts in this field, observers still consider this a rare and remarkable case. On the bright side, researchers are gradually understanding the nature of 3I Atlas as it gradually returns to the view of amateur astronomers on Earth. Data from Mars, particularly from the European Space Agency ESA, has significantly refined the object's orbit. New measurements show that 3I Atlas is still following its predicted orbit, showing no signs of drifting and experiencing only the extremely small non-gravitational accelerations that are common to all comets. The latest images from amateur observers show 3I Atlas carrying a plasma tail and jet-like structures. Looking back in time, the first clear image of this object was taken by Hubble in late July, around the 21st. At that time, 3I Atlas was still quite far from the Sun, but was on its way closer. It is worth noting that this is the fastest object ever observed, surpassing all previous comets and similar celestial bodies. When entering the solar system, it reached a speed of more than 58 kilometers per second and increased to about 68 kilometers per second at perihelion, which fell on October 29th. In the Hubble image, the orientation of the coronal mass shows something unusual. The outer layer of the atmosphere is brighter toward the Sun. This is not an unprecedented phenomenon, but it is unusual enough to have sparked a heated discussion in the astronomy community. Remarkably, this feature persists until the object enters the difficult viewing area near perihelion and is temporarily lost. Several images from other sources show slight variations in 3I Atlas's tail. The observations vary depending on the exposure image processing technique or the observer's equipment, creating the impression that the comet's tail is constantly changing shape. Images taken around November 8 or 9 after perihelion for the first time clearly show a long tail and several jets, including one that points directly toward the Sun, along with secondary jets that radiate out from it. This is a clear sign that 3I Atlas is beginning to show the familiar characteristics of an active comet, something that was not evident in earlier images, taken closer to perihelion. However, the observations have been accompanied by a fair amount of confusion. Some amateur astronomers have mistakenly attributed optical effects or instrument failures to 3I Atlas, leading to a lot of misinformation. This story reflects, in part, how the community reacts to rare astronomical phenomena. Many people fall into baseless speculation, while others are too rigid to consider multiple possibilities. This contributes to the information chaos surrounding 3I Atlas. At the start of November, the object was still behind the sun from Earth's perspective, so its tail did not appear completely off to one side like familiar comets, but at an oblique angle, creating a narrowed image in our view. However, the new features that appeared gave observers important data to continue deciphering this strange interstellar object. New observations continue to reveal 3I Atlas unique features. A series of detailed images show that the object possesses multiple jets, with at least 5 identified. In the images taken by amateur observers Jaeger and Raymond, one prominent jet shoots in a distinct direction, while 3 others radiate in opposite directions. The sun-facing bright region is also clearly marked, showing 3I Atlas's sun-facing side and its tail extending away from the sun. The latest batch of images were taken on November 8 and 9. All are published with attribution, allowing the community to trace the source of each image. In these images, 3I Atlas's tail has become longer and more defined. While the jet stream facing the sun continues to appear, the two different viewing angles show a consistent structure. As time has passed since perihelion, it has become easier to image the comet's tail. Some observers may have also used advanced processing techniques to highlight the tail's details. The data show that after passing perihelion, 3I Atlas releases a large amount of gas. This indicates that the surface of the object has a porous structure containing many volatile substances such as ice. As it approaches the sun, the ice layers sublimate directly into gas at supersonic speeds, carrying dust and forming a gas shell around the core. When the dust-gas mixture appears in the space environment, some of the dust is ionized, leading to the formation of a characteristic plasma tail. The tail, gas shell, and jets form a multi-component environment of gas, dust, and plasma. The November 9 image clearly confirms the presence of this structure. On November 10, another set of images, taken entirely from Earth, further confirmed the earlier observations. The sunward jets and the comet's tail, with its many radiating bands, were more clearly visible. Some of the images were created using a sigma slicing technique that combined 1/4, 1/2 exposures using the Virtual Telescope Project's Arctic robotic vehicle. All demonstrated that 3I Atlas was beginning to form structures that behaved like a real comet. In addition to data from Earth, the European Space Agency ESA has released 3I Atlas images taken from Mars by the ExoMars Trace Gas Orbiter. While the GIFs are blurry and don't show any nuclear detail, their greatest value lies in the observation location. It's a completely different perspective on the solar system, adding valuable data to the process of determining the paths of interstellar objects. For years, Experts have called for expanding the space observation network by deploying telescopes beyond Earth orbit, such as at Mars, Venus, or Jupiter's Lagrange points. This arrangement would allow for observations of celestial bodies from multiple perspectives, which would be especially useful for objects as rare or as difficult to track as 3I Atlas. In fact, on October 21, 3I Atlas approached perihelion but was on the opposite side of the Sun from Earth, limiting direct observations. However, thanks to data from ESA's orbiter, as well as additional observations from missions such as JUICE, 3I, Atlas's orbit has been significantly refined. According to ESA, the accuracy of the orbit data has improved tenfold after integrating information from Mars on October 3. This has allowed confirmation that 3I Atlas has no anomalies in its path, while also providing a much more stable and reliable orbit dataset, as 3I Atlas continues to follow its predicted trajectory without any unusual deviations. Conspiracy theories continue to flourish. Some people spread the idea that if aliens intend to invade Earth, the ideal time would be on the 21st, when 3I Atlas is directly behind the Sun, taking advantage of the eclipse to make some mysterious move. This idea spread strongly on social networks, especially in speculative communities, creating a certain curiosity and interest. Meanwhile, amateur astronomers around the world continue their serious work. They rise early in the morning, bring their equipment, capture each new image of 3I Atlas, and share, analyze, and compare the data. They are the first line of defense against false rumors. Every photo, every measurement, every angle confirms that the interstellar object is still on its pre-calculated orbit. Many conspiracy theories, however, rely on exaggerated scientific concepts. Some claim that 3I Atlas produces massive anti-gravity accelerations or is mysteriously misdirected. They use complex equations, technical language, and confusing diagrams to make it seem like something is terribly wrong. But as many scientists warn, balancing a bunch of formulas doesn't equal finding the truth. Mathematics is a powerful tool, but it only works when applied to the right model. History is littered with equations that were once considered standard, only to be overturned by newer, more complete theories. Importantly, the actual data from the telescopes showed that 3I Atlas showed no signs of anomalous behavior. The object continued along its predicted path. There were no strange turns, no unreasonable accelerations, nothing that suggested artificial impact or unusual intent. Of course, that doesn't stop people from imagining things. Some people like to ask if there were another civilization out there. Could they use a natural object to hide their presence? Or could Atlas be manipulated in a way that is so subtle that it is invisible to the naked eye? These questions are fascinating because they tap into a primal curiosity about the universe, but according to scientists, they remain firmly in the realm of fantasy. The conclusion from the experts is clear. 3I Atlas is strange, but not dangerous. It is an interstellar object with many unique characteristics, but all the high-quality data indicates that it poses no threat and does not violate any of the known laws of physics. The most interesting thing right now is not the possibility of invasion, but what this object can reveal about the formation, evolution, and behavior of interstellar objects as they pass through the solar system. Looking at 3I Atlas's orbit right now, we can clearly see that its position is gradually approaching an angle of about 105 degrees from Earth. An interesting detail that many people have noticed is that the Sunspot group was pointing in that exact direction about a month ago, and now, just as 3I Atlas entered the same area, the Sunspot group is rotating in that direction once again. For those who like to speculate, this is not just a coincidence, but rather a strange geometric connection between Earth, the Sun, and this interstellar object. Although scientists do not consider this a sign of anything unusual, the public has not stopped discussing this incredibly random arrangement. Looking at the Sun at the moment, we see that it is very active. The G5 minus geomagnetic storm has just ended, but the calm is only temporary. The new Sunspot group, numbered 4,284, has been growing rapidly over the past 12 hours, erupting with class flares and even producing an X-class 4 zero flare while still at the edge of the solar disk. That explosion did not hit Earth directly, but it did hit the stereo A probe directly and caused a shock strong enough to be recorded by the systems. Had it been headed straight for Earth, the consequences would have been much greater. The timing becomes even more special as the planets prepare to enter a rare alignment from November 19 to 21. The Sun, Mercury, Moon, Earth, and Uranus are all in a near-perfect alignment, while Saturn and Neptune form a near conjunction that only occurs once every 37 years. Even Pluto, at 60 degrees off-center, creates a unique gravitational wobble. Planetary energetics refer to this as a resonance window, a time when the universe is most susceptible to strange fluctuations. With an interstellar object like 3I Atlas approaching, the conjunction is fertile ground for conspiracy theories to flourish. Meanwhile, 3I Atlas itself was undergoing a dramatic transformation. After being repeatedly bombarded by the Sun with coronal mass ejections, the object began emitting more powerful plasma jets, forming jets and gradually becoming brighter in a way that very few comets have ever displayed. In the deep interstellar space, it received only about 10 -7 watts per square meter of energy, but at perihelion, the energy hitting its surface skyrocketed to 735 watts per square meter, an increase of more than 10 orders of magnitude. To the speculator, it was like an ancient machine was awakened by sunlight, entering full operation after millions of years of dormancy. For those who believe that energy is information and that consciousness can exist as a universal field that pervades the universe, this awakening has an almost mystical quality. They ask if consciousness is not something that exists only in the human brain, but is pervasive throughout nature. Does 3I Atlas carry some form of primitive consciousness, or at least an informational structure that we cannot yet understand? Some argue that the Earth is the entity that gives us form, that the human body is just a collection of rocks, water, and minerals borrowed from the Earth. If so, who can say that consciousness is only concentrated in humans, while larger things like planets, comets, or even plasma clumps do not have their own form of consciousness? Now, as 3I Atlas approaches Earth, having passed perihelion and completed its glorious awakening, the story becomes even more intriguing. At its closest approach to Earth on December 19, many will be watching for even the slightest change in its plasma profile. Since October, when it was near Mars, the object had barely a discernible plasma tail, but just a few weeks later, as it approached Venus and was pummeled by the Sun, it began to change dramatically. Now it is shedding not only dust and gas from the solar system, but also interstellar material, creating a completely different mix than that of a typical comet. The combination of the sun's intense activity, the alignment of the planets, the strange journey of 3I Atlas and its plasma awakening process creates a picture that is both scientific and mystical. Maybe this is just a natural phenomenon of the universe, or maybe it is a special event, a rare moment that humanity is lucky to witness. And if the imagination is allowed to run a little further, some people will ask, if there is an alien invasion, will they choose a time when the universe opens up energy windows like this? The question may be completely absurd, but it is also the beauty of curiosity, the thing that has led humanity to science in the first place. And finally, what's interesting is the last transit is with Jupiter. They go forward, just press play. It's going to pass close to Jupiter in March. I think March 17th is the closest day. We see it right there. And what's interesting is that it comes from the constellation Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. So the historical meaning is that Jupiter rules that constellation or that sign. And here we see it approaching Jupiter, and Jupiter represents faith and wisdom and basically compassion. And it's also basically one step away from God. So we have 3I Atlas up and running, fully online. Now it's making its closest approach to Earth on the 19th, spewing all of its material into space. And then it does its final flyby of Jupiter. Maybe that's when we finally get that full download moment, that aha moment, realizing what this thing has actually done for us. But obviously it revealed a lot, because here, let's talk about some of the issues that I've seen as a human being here. And here's another thing that happened. We have another comet in our solar system called K1 Atlas. And what happened with K1 Atlas is that it went through this process of fragmentation and basically fragmented starting a few days ago. A lot of people don't even read the name. You know, they see C2025 Atlas, and they don't know that Atlas is the observation network. So there are a lot of comets with the name Atlas in there, and they say 3I Atlas is fragmented now, but actually it's the K1 Atlas that's fragmenting. It's near the 3I Atlas. It's in front. K1 Atlas is in Leo. It may have moved away from Leo now, but it's still basically in Leo. 3I Atlas is in Virgo, so they're close together. It has this unusual yellowish appearance, which I find interesting because it's in Leo, you know, Leo or the constellation Leo, but it's fragmenting and people don't even read it. And all of a sudden they're posting a story. 3I Atlas is splitting into multiple spacecraft. They're headed to Earth. So you see, this is how it happens. And it's really just a reflection of us. Of course, it's just a reflection of society on everyone. But generally, you just be like this. So that's what happened. We have new information about K1 Atlas from this astronomer's telegram. I'll show you, and they show how it's changed over time. So we have K1 Atlas on the 13th. We have K1 Atlas on the 14th, 15th, and 16th. So again, I'll take a closer look. You can see, look at this region right there. You can see how it's breaking up and moving. So it's fragmented, but people have put it into the 3I Atlas story. This is a completely different story. This is a comet, you know, from our solar system, which we hypothesize is the Oort comet reservoir or the Oort cloud. And then if we look at the observations of the light on 3I Atlas, it's very, very bright. So we've got all these observations from amateur astronomers, and we'll see it start to fade as it gets further away from the sun. But it's quite bright at this point. One of the names often mentioned when discussing 3I Atlas is Avi Loeb. In an analysis, Loeb once suggested that 3I Atlas's backtail might be a sign of technological propulsion, as if the object were being actively driven by a propulsion system. But now, with more data from Hubble, Amateur Observer, and ESA, it's clear that these features are entirely consistent with the natural behavior of dust, ice, and plasma passing close to the sun. When the unknown is present, speculation is reasonable, but when the data is clear, some hypotheses should be put to rest. That doesn't mean we should dismiss all the strange possibilities. The idea of extraterrestrial contact is always intriguing, but for now, 3I Atlas shows no signs of going beyond the natural order unless it suddenly does something completely unusual in the next few weeks, which is unlikely because the weird part happened at perihelion. The bigger issue is how we process information. Sometimes rereading old articles helps us understand the writer's point of view and motives. Extreme views or leanings toward cultural and religious conspiracy theories only remind us to be careful who we listen to. If something doesn't make sense, ignore it. That's all the updates on the 3I Atlas. I expect NASA to release aerial photos tomorrow or early in the week. When they do, I'll let you know, though they probably won't be as sensational, but we'll know soon enough. Comet 2025 Swan continues to move away from the sun and is now in the ecliptic plane. Due to poor viewing angles, Swan's tail is difficult to see clearly, although some observers have still recorded its characteristic green halo. Images of this comet can be easily found on astronomical image-sharing platforms. As for whether 3I Atlas is involved in the breakup of Comet K1 Atlas, the data suggests that the two objects are far enough apart that they are unlikely to have influenced each other. K1's breakup is more likely a result of its porous structure, low density, and increased temperature as it nears the sun. This is a common phenomenon in weak or thermally stressed comets. Currently, the Earth's magnetic field and solar wind are stable, and there are no signs of abnormalities related to 3I Atlas or K1 Atlas. Some rumors circulating online, including the hypothesis that K1 Atlas is a different version of 3I Atlas, or that the fragmentation is a technological signal, have no scientific basis. Astronomers emphasize that verification is necessary because stories repeated many times do not mean they are true. Those are the notable updates on Swan 2025 3I Atlas and K1 Atlas as of November 16. If needed, I can continue summarizing or writing in the style of a TV newscast, science newsletter, or long analysis. The question is whether 3I Atlas could disrupt the asteroid belt as it leaves the solar system, causing asteroids to veer off course and collide with Earth. According to preliminary analysis, this scenario is very unlikely, although the exact maximum size of 3I Atlas is not known, so we still need to wait for aerial observations. The likelihood of it being large enough to cause a gravitational disturbance is low. To impact an asteroid, it would have to come within a very small distance, while most of the asteroid belt is essentially empty space despite the millions of objects inside. Phase 3, iAtlas's passage through the belt region will last from December to March. However, even during this time, the probability of it coming close to large bodies like Ceres or Pallas is very small, and there is no indication that it will cause significant disturbances. In the meantime, the astronomy community is keeping an eye out for NASA's airborne images, expected to be released in the coming days. These data will help determine the exact size of 3I Atlas and better assess the safety of its orbit. On Earth, geological and atmospheric events continue to be closely monitored. A major eruption at the Sakurajima volcano in Japan has affected about 30 flights. However, global earthquake activity is currently low. Solar activity has also calmed down following the G5 geomagnetic storm, although a new group of sunspots has appeared. Observers will continue to update the situation related to 3I Atlas, solar activity, and notable changes in the solar system in the coming time. At the same time as the scientific updates, there are many conspiracy theory tinged discussions in the US surrounding 3I Atlas, a phenomenon that is not new every time an interstellar object passes through the solar system. On platforms such as Reddit, X, and independent YouTube channels, some viewers are asking whether 3I Atlas carries intelligence signals or whether its entry into the asteroid belt is a sign of some unusual scenario. This is mostly speculation due to the mysterious nature of the object. Based on the history of controversial events related to Oumuamua, some US content creators have also predicted that the coming weeks will be sensitive, especially when NASA is about to release new images that often stimulate public curiosity. However, scientists emphasize that scenarios of alien conflicts, unusual gravitational effects, or impacts on Earth are only in the realm of speculation and have no supporting data. Despite this, the US astronomy community remains particularly interested, with some media analysts predicting that 3I Atlas could become a news story in the coming weeks if NASA images reveal anything more unusual than expected, whether it's just plasma features or a new tail structure. Overall, 3I Atlas is attracting both scientific and conspiracy theorists in the US, creating a scene that is both serious and speculative. Experts recommend that the public follow the news through official sources and consider conspiracy theories as part of popular culture, not scientific data. If you want to stay up to date with the latest updates on 3I Atlas, solar activity, comets in the system, and other space phenomena that are attracting global attention, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to not miss any news. Please turn on the notification bell so that whenever I post new data, NASA images, or breaking analysis, you'll get it right away. Thanks for sticking with me, and see you in the next update.